Welcome to the Beginning Band COVID Companion, Distance Learning for Band. This is video 1 of a 4-part series. First, we will learn how to assemble and disassemble our instrument. Next, we will learn how to maintain the mechanics of the instrument and disinfect it. Then, we will learn how to make beautiful sounds on just our mouthpiece. Lastly, we will perform our first notes. Now, I'm going to teach you how to assemble and disassemble your flute. First, just listen. Don't try to put it together quite yet, that'll be next. The majority of this video is going to be focused on the foot joint, head joint, and body joint of the flute. So go ahead and take a few seconds now to memorize what those look like so that you know what I'm talking about. First, set the case on the floor, and that way it cannot fall. Once you become more experienced, you will be able to open the flute case in your lab, but don't do that for now. The side of the case with the handle is the part that goes down. If you look at the red line, it'll show you where the case splits so that you can see where the handle is going down. If you open it this way, it'll be very easy to get to the piece of your instrument. If you open it upside down, your flute will fall on the floor, and nobody wants that. Gently twist and push the mouthpiece into the larger opening of the body joint. Avoid gripping the bars and the keys as you twist. You don't want to bend them. The tip of the head joint is the most fragile point during flute assembly, so be very careful. Once you've finished pushing the mouthpiece all the way in, pull it back out a 1/4 inch. This will help you play in tune later. If you look at the picture on the right, you can see where on the flute it should be sticking out a 1/4 inch. Twist the head joint until the center of the hole of the lip plate lines up with the right side of the first key. For some people, it will align better with the middle of that first key instead of the right side, but that is all depending on your face structure and how you're built. If you look at the arrows on the pictures, it'll show you that the center of the hole is lining up with the right side of the first key. The E-flat key is the top key of your foot joint. Avoid gripping as many bars and keys as possible as you gently twist the foot joint into the body joint. For most people, the middle of the E-flat key lines up with the bottom side of their 6th finger key, but feel free to adjust this for the comfort of your right hand pinky. The lip plate will eventually go on your bottom lip. The foot joint will eventually go off to the right. Now that we know how to put together the flute, it's also important that we learn how to take the flute apart. First, shake. Now that we know how to put the flute together, it is also important to be able to take the flute apart. The first step of disassembly is pulling the head joint out of your flute and shaking the water out of the head joint because that's where most of the moisture will accumulate after you're done playing the instrument. I usually gently tap it on my thigh, but be careful because it is the most fragile part of the instrument. After that, go get your cleaning rod and swab. Insert a corner of your swab cloth into the loop of the cleaning rod and wrap it around the rod. Gently twist and pull it through your body joint and foot joint. Put the flute back into its case the way that you found it. Never force the case closed. If it's being stubborn, you probably need it the way that you found it. Never force the case closed. If it's being stubborn, you probably need to rearrange the pieces a little bit. Latch both latches and do your best to store your cleaning rod and swab outside of your case so that it has a chance to dry. If you leave your swab inside the body of your flute too often, it's going to accumulate mold, and nobody wants that. Now that you've listened to me assemble and disassemble my instrument, let's try to put it together at the same time. It's time to assemble the flute together. Now, I know we've already talked about putting the flute together, so I might do this a little fast. The good news is, you can always pause the video if I've moved too quickly and go watch it again. First step is to make sure that we're opening the case correctly. You'll find where the handle is on the bottom of the case, and that way it'll open correctly. If you open it upside down, where the handle is on top of the case, then the instrument's going to fall out. I'm not even going to do that because I don't want to hurt my flute. After we open the case, we have three parts: the head joint, the foot joint, and the body joint. The first step of putting the flute together is to take the head joint and put it into the body joint. You don't want to put it on the end with all the keys. That's where the foot joint's going to go. You're going to put it on the larger, more open end. Be careful when you do this step because this is the most fragile part of the flute. Bending it in any kind of way will make you sound worse. I'm going to gently twist it all the way in and then bring it back out 1/4 inch. That'll help you play in tune later. Now I'm going to look down the flute, or from your perspective it will look like this, and make sure that the center of my hole lines up with the right side of the first key. That way it'll be easier to play when it comes time to make some notes. After that, I'm going to find my foot joint. This top button right here is called the E flat key. And I'm going to line up the middle of the E flat key with the 6th key on the bottom of my flute. Gently twist that on until it's comfortable for your pinky. My pinky's a little bit shorter, so I'm going to twist it a little bit more in. Much better. That's how you put the flute together. Eventually, it's going to be my right hand that's off to the side. My left hand is what's going to be closer to my head joint here. The flute will rest on my bottom lip, and it'll look like this. We'll discuss more about how to make your first notes later. Now let's talk about disassembling our flute. I'm going to start with the head joint, because this is where all the moisture is going to have accumulated. You can shake a lot of that water out, or you can tap it off on your thigh. Be careful when you do so. You definitely don't want to do it on any hard surfaces because, again, this is the most fragile point on the flute. So after I've knocked some of the loose moisture out, I'm going to take my cleaning rod, find the loop, and any corner of my swab cloth. We'll run the corner through, just a little bit hanging out. I'll twist it around the rod so that it's small enough to go through. One time all the way in, twist, pull it right back out. Next is the body of the flute. Most of the moisture is going to be on this end where the mouthpiece was, so I'm not going to start there. I'm going to push it all the way through, pull it back out. Now, hopefully we've gotten most of that moisture. Lastly, we've got our foot joint. It's not likely to have a lot of moisture down here, but we're going to clean it out anyway. All done. We're going to put it back in the case, find the smallest segment of the case, and that's where your foot joint goes. Find the medium-sized, and that's where your head joint goes. and then find the largest hole in here, and that is going to be where the body joint goes. After that, you should be able to close it and latch it. If it's giving you any resistance at all, it means that one of these pieces is out of alignment, and you just got to snugly rearrange them until it all fits in. Latch both latches, and you're good to go. You'll notice that I leave my swab outside of my case for it to dry. If it's stored in your case, it's just gonna collect mold. So what I do, since I practice my instrument every single day, is I can just leave this at home, because after I'm done swabbing it, I can put it right where it's going to be for me the next day. However, if you're not gonna be able to practice every single day, you're gonna wanna store this wherever you store your flute. That's it. That's how to assemble and disassemble your flute. Next, we're gonna learn how to maintain and disinfect our flute.